But you know, when you see that bag and you're like, oh man, I gotta finish this so I don't do it tomorrow. You know what I mean?
What's up, everybody, and welcome to Drinks with Johnny. Today I have an in-person again. It's wonderful when we could do these in person. Tucker was very gracious and able to make this happen while he's out on tour here in Garden Grove. So thanks for being here, man. Drummer from Thursday and now LS Dunes. That's
Thank
what
you
we're
for
mostly
having
here
me.
to talk about.
Yeah.
And just shoot the shit.
Yeah, shoot the shit.
How you doing, man?
I'm good. We made it here. This is good.
Under the gun, but it's okay. You
Yeah.
just got into Orange County.
Just got in.
And
Like,
just came
stepped
right
off
over
the
here,
bus,
right?
stepped on an Uber. So I don't even think I actually touched soil yet, just pavement.
Have you spent a lot of time in Orange County?
I haven't, but I always enjoy it when I come here. I mean, I grew up on the East Coast in New Jersey, so I've always been like really pumped to get out to the West Coast because I've always wanted to live in California. Like when I was a kid, it was San Francisco. I had this dream of moving to San Francisco, but then as I got a little older and realized that the weather is better here, I was like, oh, this is the utopia.
SoCal
Yeah.
in Orange County, it's like, see, even LA for me, I'm not the biggest fan of LA. It's just, there's too many people. It's just too much going on. Everything is 20 minutes away, which really means an hour, even within Dillon County. I can't deal with that shit, so I just go about 40 minutes south, about an hour south, and it's where I was born and raised. So
amazing.
I just fucking love it. So you have a show tonight in Garden Grove,
I do,
right?
yeah.
Where is it at?
At the Garden Grove Amphitheater.
The amphitheater. Okay,
yeah.
so that's a new venue. I don't know if you know too much about it.
Never played there.
I didn't know it existed until I saw Chris Jericho band's Fozzy a few months ago.
Oh, crazy.
Play there. Chris hit me up and was like, "We're playing this amphitheater in Garden Grove." I'm all, "What are you talking about? There's no amphitheater in Garden Grove. I've lived here my whole life."
Yeah.
Lo and behold, there's a 600 cap fucking
Yeah. And apparently shows
there.
go off there, you know,
Yeah.
which is kind of cool.
It's a really, so you haven't been there.
I have not.
You haven't even looked at it.
Haven't
yet.
even looked at it.
So you're gonna be stoked though, because this is I would love to play it one time because it is that amphitheater setting, but but it's close and intimate at the same time.
Right.
So the sound is great, actually, better than a normal amphitheater. Normal amphitheater, you're bouncing off all this
Everywhere.
concrete.
Yeah.
It's a nightmare, right? Better sound than that. But you still got that stage, that size of a stage and stuff. I think what they use it for is there's a performing arts college there.
Yes, there is a school there that I saw.
So it's in this really cool little area. Anyways, you're gonna enjoy it tonight.
I'm excited.
Like, it's really
like
fun.
There's a pit, right, and then there's seats too.
Yeah,
right?
just like a normal amphitheater.
Seats
but
always
just like
freak me out.
Seats, but they're like right up in you.
That's good.
So like you're
do
like the seats are like they'll feel. I haven't been on the stage side of it, but I imagine it would feel like you're kind of just looking at the person right there. So that makes it really cool.
We have older fans now too. They've kind of grown with us, you know. So some of them might like to sit down.
I got to tell you, man, I like to sit down when I go to shows these days.
Same.
Where'd you guys come in from, though?
So we had a day off in Sedona, Arizona yesterday, but I believe the show the night before was in Albuquerque.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you just had a day off in Sedona?
Yeah.
Have you ever been to Sedona before?
I've been through it, but I never stopped. I brought some crystals and stuff in the little town, and then we went up to like the peak and watched the sunset, and then we went and had pizza afterwards. So it was like one of those really nice days off that I actually did something rather than just...
Well, that's a beautiful... I ask about that. I was just there for the very first time. I'll get back to that. But you touched on something that most of the people at home probably don't understand is those days off where you get something like more peaceful and just like relaxing like that. How long have you guys been on the road at this point?
Not very long. Like it's only been a few days, but there's been some brutal drives. I mean, we're on the bus so we get to sleep, but you know, there was one day that we literally a 24-hour drive. So
those are brutal.
It was brutal. So you wake up and you're just on this tube, you know, and it's close quarters and you really don't feel like that's a day off. So going from that kind of a day off to this kind of a day off was, you know, night and day.
Dude, I dread it. Those days, how many times did you call your booking agent that day?
I avoided the phone calls because I was upset.
Yes. When you realize, all right, who was the asshole that booked this? And you got to be in all day and you're looking around.
Yeah.
You wake up. The other thing, you don't have a shower on the bus,
No.
right? I assume, or like.
Well, we do, but it's used for show clothes. It's one of those that has it's the leaky roof shower. You know what I mean?
It's not like a Star Coach with like a really nice one in the back. Yeah, so I know exactly where that is, man. And you wake up in the morning after a show and stuff. The last thing you just want to go to your space for a minute.
Totally.
Regroup with your friends in a minute. But
just want to go somewhere and get away, call my wife, do whatever it is I have to do, and then come back and rejoin the circus. You know what I mean?
I feel for you, man. I miss being on the road. It's been a long time for me, but that part I don't miss.
It's weird after the pandemic, coming back to touring. You know, that's all I wanted to do when I was home. You know, like I'm sure it was the same for you. It's like I want to get back on the road, and then once you get back out, it's different. You know, you're just like, oh man, I really liked being home. You know?
So you're telling me that Catch-22 still exists even after all that?
Absolutely.
Damn, I was hoping it fixed it, man.
You wake up and you're on the road and you're like, yes, and then you're like, man, this is hard.
Yeah, dude. Well, that's been the thing that's what we all talk about when we run into each other. It's like, it's great to be on the road for a couple weeks, but it's also, I miss home every time after like
100%.
The first little bit. Right?
100%. And my daughter's 2.5 now, so I was lucky enough to be able to spend the first 2 years of her life at home, which normally wouldn't happen, you know. So I'm grateful for that, but it's now harder to leave, you know. So not only is it harder to tour because I got used to being home, it's harder to leave another human that I created.
Of course.
Or I helped
dude,
create.
I didn't realize you just had wow.
Right at the beginning of COVID.
Right, wow. Congratulations,
Thanks, man. Thank you.
I know what you're talking about, though. I got a 5-year-old son, so when we got off of the road, he was about 6-7 months or something like that. Like, I like to make the joke that we were trendsetters in getting off the road before COVID made everybody else off the road. But, so I understand what you're talking about, like being at home and like being able to be so present for those early years is so cool.
Totally.
Like it's forceful. We don't wish upon this to happen, but there's silver linings for guys like you and me out of COVID, right?
Yeah. I feel bad when people have such horror stories about COVID, because I know it is a horror story. But like you were saying, for me, I was just grateful that I could actually be a full-time dad, because my wife has a great job. She makes more money than I do, so it's
smart man, dude.
So being a full-time dad was kind of okay for me at the time, because she was bringing home the bread or whatever. So and I not to get weird, because it's not weird, but like I didn't grow up with a dad. My mom and dad split when I was a kid, so being able to be an active father that I didn't have for someone that I want to be in their lives forever was a cool, that silver lining.
Yeah, I mean, it's not weird. A lot of people out there, like, it's kind of more common than not to have a single parent or, something like that. But it is true, and you're not ready for it. Like, there's no books, there's no friends, there's nothing that's going to tell you how you're going to feel or how you're going to react. It's kind of, you have a kid and you're just kind of like, well, I just do. Like, it just becomes like, everyone asks you, like, what have you been up to? You're like, I don't fucking know. I just do.
Just do it. And I'm one of those people, like, I always wanted to, get married and do that. But starting a family was never, like, something I was like, oh, I want to be a dad. You know what I mean? It was like, my wife, I remember we came to a crossroads, and she's like, listen, we're either going to get motorcycles and be those people, or we're going to have a child. What do you want to do? And I was like, motorcycle? So, but and like you said, that things happened, and then all of a sudden it's like she's born, and I'm like, oh shit, like,
you just roll.
How do I do this? And it's like anything else, you just figure it out as you go along. Because there is no book. There's tons of books.
Yeah, but they don't.
They don't really apply.
Because that's the thing is, to me, I'm learning. You could maybe attest to this. Is it humbles you and makes you realize so many things in your perspective when you have a child, and realize just how different every person is and has a different perspective. Like, it really made me think about, I just thought, like, well, even if he's right beside me, he's got the same perspective I do. And it's like, nah, dude, everyone, like, it's as unique or more than a fingerprint,
Totally.
That perspective. I could never, we always like to say we put ourselves in someone else's shoes. You never really can, because there's so much that goes into shaping that. And it goes into that when you look at a child, you're like, wow, this is a completely different perception that just came into being.
And they have a vibe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not like you're just, talking to like a a stuffed animal. You know what I mean? Like they are being shaped, and you can see them, and you can watch the wheels turn, and it's crazy when they start understanding like what is going on. It's like the coolest thing.
Yeah. Man. Well, another silver line that came out of the pandemic for you was the form of this project, Ellis Dunes, man.
Yeah, yeah.
So it said, I did a little bit of research of what I could from the band a little bit, listen to the record, it's great. We'll get into production on that in a second. But yeah, like, sounds like you guys were just hanging at home and started a text chain. And basically just from old buddies you toured with and played with. I know Frank, you filled in for Mike for a bit a while back.
Dude, it was crazy, man. You know, like I said, COVID hit, and, you know, I was like, what am I gonna do? You know, I have this newborn, but like she's so attached to her mother that, like, you remember those times when, you know, you're kind of just like a dude that's in the house.
Yeah.
And so I was like, man, I'm gonna buy some recording gear. I'm gonna, because I feel like this is gonna go on for a while, so I'm gonna figure out how to like remotely make music. So I scoured YouTube, figured out what to buy and how to set up mics, and I called some friends and figured that out. And
what did you end up running? Not to go off topic.
I did an Apollo X8P Universal Audio, and just Pro Tools, and just a bunch of scattered different microphones, Sennheiser, Warm Audio, and I just taught myself, and, you know, was like, all right, I want to do sessions. I want to do remote sessions. And, you know, that was cool for a minute, but I kind of didn't have a lot of time to get out to the garage. My studio's in my garage at home, because the baby would wake up and I'd have to take over. So like doing actual sessions wasn't going to work out because I can't just like rush it. So I decided like, oh, I want to like make music with my friends, because I feel like bouncing ideas off of one another is, you know, less time consuming, and I'm not getting paid for it, you know what I mean? So I don't feel like I owe anything to anybody. And so I was like, man, Tim and I are very close friends. Tim plays on Thursday with me, and he's our bass player, and he makes me a better drummer. So I was like, I definitely want to write music with him.
I saw you said that a couple of times about Tim, and I was very curious, not to cut you off again, but I was curious about that because for me, it's always been the other way around. I really feed off the drummer, and I just that's a, at least in my perception, that's a different dynamic than I'm used to hearing about.
Yeah, dude, it's weird because I always write to the guitar riff, and I never had to worry about the bass. You know what I mean? Like I never had to worry about him locking in with me, because the way he plays is just so intuitive, and like, he gets what I'm doing and I get what he's doing. So it's like I never had to worry about like being tight with the bass player, which was a crazy thing. And he would then follow me on the riffs. You know what I mean? Like if I'm writing a drum part like angular to the guitars, he's like, oh, I get it, and he would just follow. And so and in this band, he actually wrote a lot of the songs came bass line first. Like it just,
that's interesting.
Yeah,
that's
so
cool.
it was a different way of writing. And then like Frank has been a good friend of mine for a long time, and I played in the Future Violence with him, and his brother-in-law Evan. And I don't ever want to be in a band without Frank again. He's just we just bounce off each other musically really well, and you know, he's just a great person to be around. And even when I recorded the drums for the record, we recorded with Will Yip. I actually brought Frank with me. I was like, dude, you need to come with me because I need your juju and your ideas, you know what I mean? Like, tell me what fills you think are cool, because like, I'm in the room, you know, I'm doing it.
It's so hard to be subjective, right? About your own shit, like, and be like, and kind of take yourself out of it, right?
Yeah, because, you know, as a drummer, I'm like trying to come up with these cool fills, you know, and some of them don't fit, you know what I mean? I want to know what fits,
right?
You know, I want to. They always say when you get older, you play more for the song. You know what I mean? And I was like, fuck that. You know, I want to
show what I can do.
Yeah, I want to show what I can do. And then I realized that I can't do what I'm thinking in my head all the time. So I need that outside guidance to be like, yo, just be my tastemaker.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
There you go.
Help me write drum riffs.
Yeah. So Frank was the only one with you. So
yeah.
And does that mean that like everybody kind of recorded their parts isolated and then brought it all together with, I'm sorry, what was the producer's
Will
name?
Yip.
Will Yip. And he did like Code Orange and
Code Orange,
stuff.
Turnstile, does all the Circa records.
Oh, he's did all the Circa records.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's like multi-instrumentalist, like one of those dudes that's like, why are you so talented?
Right.
You know, and he's like wicked producer, so.
That's rad.
Yeah. Travis and Tim both recorded at home and reamped it in the studio. Will reamp their stuff to, you know, kind of add some new flavors. And then Frank recorded in the studio with Will. But yeah, we all kind of went separate because of schedules, COVID, this, that, the other thing. But a lot of this stuff was done in our home studios.
Right.
You know, and we just had these full fleshed out demos that we sent to Will, and he made a few changes here and there and put his, you know, his spin on things, and, you know, so we all re-recorded to that.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
That's cool. A lot of people might not know, at home, some of the laymen might not know what reamping is, too. So it's for those, like, you took what you did digitally at home, or whatever the case may be, however you recorded, put a mic in front of it, whatever, and then replayed it through some cabinets in a live room, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And then re-mic that.
Re-mic that, and then
that's interesting.
Put whatever stuff on top of it, you know.
To give it that sound.
Yeah.
Because I'm glad we're getting into the production kind of naturally here, because that was something that I gravitated towards when I was listening to this record. Man, it's really cool when I get to hear a band not so overproduced, I guess, is
Yeah.
like you can tell your drums specifically are in a live room and you guys have room mics.
Yeah.
I love that dissonant sound, that really, it's that natural reverb, it's the big sound without, you know, compressing it to get at that big sound, which is weird to me that compressing it gives it that sound. That's a whole other fucking thing.
Yeah, it's like publishing. I don't understand.
But yeah, I mean, explain the process for how you guys were miking everything, and specifically what the vision was for the drums. Let's start there.
Well, Will's studio is amazing. The drum room is fantastic, and there's a lot of records that were made back in the day there, like Boys to Men and stuff like that. It's
Awesome.
like a historic studio in Conshohocken, Pennsylvania, right near Philly. And we knew as a band, like, it's drums, guitars, bass, and vocals. You know what I mean? There's no like crazy pedals that are going into it or anything like that. We just kind of wanted to write like punk songs. You know, with, you know, rock, punk, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Just quick and dirty, you know what I mean? So I think we wanted to capture the vibe, you know what I mean? Everybody says that. But I really feel like we did. And Will, like I said, Will's got the ear, and he knows what's up. And, you know, so I put the heads on, I tuned them up, chose the snares.
You teched yourself on
I teched myself, but
awesome.
He's the visionary, so I just let him kind of do whatever he had to do.
Was it a lot of like, you're in there tuning in and you're like, is that okay, Will?
it strangely, it wasn't. It was like, how's this? And he's like, oh, it's cool. And I was like, all right, well,
wow.
Let's start the first song. You know what I mean?
That's rad.
And I love that. I love that kind of stuff.
Oh, dude, it's so funny because that's like little pressures, but a lot of them can amount up, and then you're thinking about that while you're playing. You don't want to be thinking about that shit while you're playing.
No, it's like somebody giving you a guitar to play on this song, and you're like, well, that's not what I do. That's not what I do. It's not my guitar. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
totally.
Or like this different brand of strings. Like, well, these aren't the strings I play. Like, I want to be me.
And then you have to think about how do I make this me?
Totally.
You know, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, it's that added step with our brains, I think, that like you don't want to mess with.
100%. And you're already, I say this all the time, and it's a crazy thing to say, but you're the worst at your songs when you record them.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
God,
so
over and over. I hate recording.
I hate it because I love it and I hate it.
I like playing the songs, but I hate fucking recording.
But you're the worst at them. Like it's so given, you know, when you're not in a comfortable zone playing a song that you barely know to record forever. You know what I mean? It's you want to make it as comfortable as possible. I guess what I'm saying.
Absolutely. I'm glad you talked about the punk rock and getting the energy, basically the vibe, whatever the kids are saying these days for the same fucking thing. Like, you guys got it on it. Like, and that's why that's especially why I was surprised that you did it all individually at different studios, because a lot of times, you know, you might want to do not necessarily a Rage Against the Machine thing where everyone's in the same room doing that. That doesn't typically work anymore, for whatever reason. Most people just don't do that anymore. But you obviously got the live room for the drums, reamping everything. Do you know a lot of what Tim was doing on the bass? Because for a bass player, I was listening to that and I was like, it just gives me like old rad vibes of like putting a Sanzet pedal in front of a classic Ampeg head.
Pretty much, that's exactly what it was.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
That's his vibe. Yeah.
That's rad.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds great. It complements that real natural sounding drum really well too.
Thank you.
And overall, I'm just listening to the production of this is where I wanted to get there, is because I was just like, it just sounds natural. It has that energy. There's nothing, there's no frill there, you know, in a great way. You're letting Anthony's vocals sit where they need to in that, because of that. If you were competing in that high range, you start stepping on that shit, and he's got that high range naturally. Totally. Let it fly.
Yeah.
You know? So it's like everything just comes together. It reminds me of a record that, in a timeless sense, could have been 15 years out. You know, like this record could have been released 15 years ago, and it would still stand up and sound the way it does now.
Well, thank you, man. That means a lot, because I played on a lot of records. I'm sure you have as well, and this is my favorite one that I've done so far.
Not as many as you.
Come on. But this is my favorite one so far, and I think it is for that reason, because, I mean, I'll be honest, we wanted to record in a room together. We wanted to do that whole thing, but we just couldn't.
Yeah, because you guys were doing this during the pandemic.
During the pandemic.
Okay.
It started in 2020, and I think we recorded at the end of 2021. So this was like in it, you know what I mean? And parts were being sent around, and it was the reason why we all woke up in the morning. You know what I mean? Like, you go to bed and you're like hoping somebody send you a riff the next day so you can start working on it. Because like, not that we were desperate, but I was definitely desperate to work on music. Definitely desperate, because I'm hearing people be like, oh yeah, like music's done, you're gonna have to find a new job. And it's like, dude, I've been working on this forever.
Yeah.
I've been playing drums for my whole adult life.
What do you mean find another job?
Exactly.
I've devoted so much time to this. I have no other skill set.
Yeah. I don't know how to do anything else. You know what I mean? I'll never forget one time I played on Late Night Seth, and I was really nervous beforehand, and a friend of mine came to the show and was like, hey, you all right? And I'm like, I don't know, I'm kind of tripping out, it's sweaty palms. And he's like, don't worry, man. He's like, this is the only thing you're good at. And I was like,
that's a good one to put in the back pocket.
I feel pretty good about that.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, all right, I guess I got this.
Yeah.
But yeah, so when people are telling you like, oh, you're going to have to find another line of work, it's like, I'm going to throw away everything that I am.
Right.
Because somebody, so I basically creating a band when people are telling you music is dead was fucking insane.
Yeah.
But I'm glad we did.
Dude, I think that's great that you guys had that. I mean, for everyone who went through a lot of different things, everyone had to find a new way to get by, right?
Totally.
And for musicians, it was a different way, and not to minimize other people's or raise up other people's. It's all just fucking different, people. We don't need to complain about whose suffering was worse. But at the end of the day, that was your identity that you've built up your entire life is kind of in jeopardy.
Totally.
And that's very scary. That's the unknown that we could all relate with, of what does this look like?
Totally.
And you could end up having a midlife crisis and starting a podcast, or you could have a band with some buddies and just start. I mean, that must have been so exciting and like therapeutic, right? Because you need something, You can't just sit there and twiddle your thumbs.
Even if these songs never saw the light of day, it's the challenge of writing with different people and remaining creative and being inspired by other people to, I don't know, if somebody sends you a drum beat and, you have to run upstairs and grab your guitar and play along to it.
Yeah.
Like that's what you're searching for. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of what the journey was during this pandemic, was like raise my kid and like be inspired by something other than watching the news and seeing how fucking horrible everything is and all the tragedies that are going on, you know what I mean? Because that's there.
And that's always going to be there.
Yeah.
Whether there's a pandemic or not, that's still there.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what I'm not going to do is get another fucking job, because, you know what I mean? Like, this is what I do. Well, this is what we do.
Exactly. And back to that though, real quick, like it's not, when someone approaches you, I couldn't even imagine someone saying that to me, because it would just be like, not only why would I give that up, and I would literally be like, well, I can't do anything else. I'm 37, gonna be 38 here soon. this has been my entire life.
Yeah.
Well, everyone else was developing another skill. This
Totally.
was what I was doing. I don't get to just, well, now I'm going to start a whole new skill.
But the thing is, you could if you wanted to. You're an able-bodied, smart person.
Sure.
However, you've drained all of your stuff into this. You know, you've put everything you have into this. So it's like, this got you all of this. You know what I mean? And it's you wake up fulfilled because A, your family, but B, you've created something that you could be proud of.
Right.
So it's really hard to take that juice and start something all, you know, because there's never going to be anything as fun as being in music.
Right.
In my point
Well,
of view.
and your point of view and your perception, like that's what it is for us. It's not like, it's just, we probably would have done it regardless. I always say, like, when it came down to music for me, if I failed at it, the failure would have just been, I'm in a cover band on the weekends. Doesn't mean I'm not going to play music.
Still would have ripped.
Yeah. I would have fucking ripped in a
Still
cover band on
ripped.
the weekends, man. Big old beer gut, having a normal 9 to 5 during the
Hell
week.
yeah.
Why the fuck not?
Yeah.
I got the beer gut anyway, so, you know. But, no, dude, it's awesome to talk to. It's why we started doing the podcast. I say I got buddies that usually are here with me, but that's why I started this, really, is because I like hearing I like getting to know other musicians like yourself that we crossed paths but never actually like sat down and like had a conversation about how you feel about music.
Right,
you know?
right. Yeah, it's wild that the first time I had ever seen you guys was on Warped Tour. You guys did one show. It was like a nighttime set at one of the Warped Tours. I don't even know what year, maybe 2006 or something.
Yeah.
It was like a special occasion that you guys came and played. So that was the first time like we were in each other's orbit.
Right,
you know what I mean?
right,
And then
right.
I feel like we've weaved in and out.
Yeah.
And I love Brooks. Brooks is a buddy of mine.
Oh, you know Brooks too? Yeah.
Ridiculous drummer.
Everybody knows fucking Brooks, man.
Yeah. Fucking shredder.
He's a shredder, man.
Yeah.
He's doing good. I'll tell him you said hi.
Definitely, please do.
Yeah, he's just up the road. Maybe we'll come by and see the show tonight at the amphitheater. But back to that real quick. You're on tour. You guys are kind of, I mean, obviously your guitarist Frank from My Chemical Romance and everything as well. And from Future Violence, the project you guys had together as well. You're on the road together right now.
Yeah.
Obviously, My Chem is in the swing of things too.
Yeah.
You're finding these gigs in between, right?
Yeah.
And how is that working out so far? I know you kind of started with the.
It's been great, man. It's cool. Like New York, for example, we played Barclays Center with them, right? And then the next day, Thursday, did a little headlining show at St. Vitus, which is like a tiny rock club, So we're doing that like biggest thing, littlest thing, So it's kind of crazy and a lot of fun. And they're at the Forum, I think tonight for the next 5 nights or whatever. And
tonight's the night off.
Oh, tonight's the night off.
I've been watching because I've been trying to figure out which show. Like it's been all week and I've been busy, but I'm like, all right. There's 2 left. It's Friday and Monday. I got to get out to one of them. I mean, the Forum's about an hour away. It's not that big of a deal. So I want to, and I haven't seen any of those guys. Make sure you tell Frank I said hello.
Absolutely
I haven't seen
will.
him since probably 12 years ago at least. So it's been a minute.
It's crazy how you make these friends very early on in our industry, and then everybody starts touring, and you go different directions. Like you're weaving in and out of one another, but you really can go 5, 10, 12 years without seeing people that you've connected with in this industry.
Right, yeah. It's just so wild. I'm sorry, I keep digressing on the different things. But yeah, so you're finding all these different, you guys are playing. Did you say you were playing with Chem too?
Yeah.
Some of the dates?
We're doing, so we play the Forum with them on the 15th of October in a couple days.
Okay. That's tomorrow. You're just waking up, so I'll give you the benefit of the doubt.
Yes, yeah. I'll give what day is it. But yeah, we had to fill in these days because I think Taking Back Sunday is on with them right now, or was last night.
Yeah.
So we join with them again tomorrow, but we have to fill in these days, or else we're just out here.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like.
And economically, it costs you're paying for bus.
Yeah, buses are expensive. Human beings are expensive.
Yes, exactly. I know that's you got a lot of space in between. So filling it in with some LS Dunes and some Thursday stuff.
Yeah.
How's that been basically?
It's been great, man. It's really busy. Like the first day of this leg of the tour was Aftershock Festival, which MCR headlined, but Thursday played in the afternoon, then Dunes played in the evening. So it was like I did a double header, which I love to do because I'm fucking insane.
I was gonna say, you're not, as a drummer, you like to do double headers?
The day before, I'm always psyched, but the day of, I'm like, fuck, what have I done?
Burn some extra calories.
Yeah, exactly. But no, it was great, man, and it's a lot of fun, and it's one of those things where like we want LS Dunes to be full time, so these are the sacrifices that we have to make. Okay. You know, Frank's done double duty for this band. I've done double duty. Travis will do double duty. You know, we're all so it's you know, we're getting it in where we can, and you know, if we need to round peg in a square hole, we're gonna fucking do it.
That's rad. So you guys are that like gung ho with this. This isn't, so the people at home know, it's also, this isn't just like a side project that you're letting go away that formed during COVID. No. And it's just I mean, I guess probably for some of the reasons we were talking about, it really helped you guys therapeutically. It's got to mean something more than that, right?
Dude, that's the thing, man. It started out as this little thing that we were just doing to dust the cobwebs off, you know what I mean? And then it turned into something that we were like, oh, this is a lot of fun, and like you said, this is therapeutic. And then it was like, I'm obsessed with this, and this is an addiction to play music with these people. And then we had these songs, and they were good. You know what I mean? It was like, well, now that the music is taken over, you know what I mean? We don't have a choice in the game anymore, you know? So it sounds corny, but that's the fucking God's honest truth. You remember being 20, writing songs and being so stoked, you know, and then you get into your 30s and it's like, this is what I do. I still love what I do. And then, you know, I'm 43 right now, and I was literally like, I'm fucking, thank you. I'm obsessed with music again. So it's full circle changed my life.
Yeah, dude, it's so cool to hear, and I'm glad that you guys are pushing forward with this. Like, I know that, so the LS Dunes name was kind of brought up when I guess you guys were passing stuff back and forth to Anthony with the 2022 song, right?
Yeah,
it's my understanding. So why Dunes? I know it's kind of LSD is like the main thing there. You guys were saying something about that. We rearranged your song and made it like your song on LSD.
Yeah,
right?
Totally. Yeah.
So I guess why Dunes to put in that D? And I know that's one of those like corny questions, right?
No, but
like I'm curious.
people need to know this because it's when you're starting another band this late in the game, every fucking name is taken. Yeah. You know, there's only so many words in the dictionary that you could take this and slap it together and make a name. So, you know, we kind of came up with Dunes. That was the first thing, you know, because for some reason the music gave us like kind of a desert vibe, you know, a little bit of like more of a rock kind of desert, you know, kind of thing. And so Dunes was one of the names passed around. And then Anthony was like, oh man, what if we just called it like LSD, like LS Dunes, sort of like an author's name, you know. And then we kind of got into the idea of like, oh, that's cool, like Past Lives by LS Dunes, you know. So it was almost like an R.L. Stine or a T.S. Eliot or something like that. So, but yes, mostly because LSD. You know, it's just a trip. I hate to keep throwing out these weird things, but it's a trip to start a band. It's a trip to love the music, and it's a trip to
to start this band with your friends that each member has had a successful career in music and crossed paths along the way. It's a super group, you know, in so many respects. The way it's coming together, everything that you just described it's not normal. Yeah. So it's a trip.
Yeah, it's a total trip. From minute one, this is not normal. You know what I mean? When you're, you know, it was created in the fucking cloud.
Right.
Like legitimately created in the cloud. Like, thank God for Dropbox.
Dude, that's what we do here. Yeah. Like, it's fucking amazing.
And like learning how to file share, like that, I am not good on technology, but like file sharing honestly was the hardest part of this whole entire job.
I guarantee you right now, my director who's editing all this is laughing his ass off because he knows exactly how the struggle has been real over the last couple of years of doing this.
Yeah.
He's in Pittsburgh. I record everything and send it to him. And sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't.
You never know. You never know, man. You never know. It's crazy.
But back to the title and everything, and Past Lives as well. Really cool title for
Thank you.
Going back to the fact that you guys have been in music in the industry for a couple decades now and had successful careers in it. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, that kind of plays off of where you're going, right?
Totally. It started out as a song title that Tim, our bass player, threw out, and very quickly was like, okay, this is the working title for the record. And And I think that all of us in the back of our minds were like, this is the title of the record. Because yeah, it really does kind of harken back to like, yeah, this is, you know, we've done a lot to get here, you know, and just being grateful to be able to continue to write music and to have figured out how to file share and do all that stuff that we're not good at. But yeah, you know, it's kind of just talking about how grateful we are to be able to do what we do and to be able to take it from the past into the future, you know. So.
Right on. No, I love everything about that. It's a cool project. As I said, we put all this together like literally from yesterday. You found out you were coming here and you're like, let's fucking do it. I'm so glad we were able to do it in person. We got to move on from the music though for a second.
Cool.
Like we'll get into it a little bit more, but as we're talking about LSD and stuff, is it more of a concept of LSD for you guys, or do you partake in hallucinogens?
I don't. I'm sober. Anthony's sober.
Okay.
It's kind of one of those things where it's like, man, we've lived crazy lives, you know what I mean? So it's.
Have you ever? I mean, or
I have.
Okay.
I have. I've done mushrooms and stuff like that, and it's great. It's just I eat edibles every once in a while, but I don't like being out of control anymore. Like drinking, I felt out of control.
Right.
And so I never really did the psychedelics or anything like that. But yeah, I'm definitely more motivated when I'm straight in the mind.
Yeah, I think if we're all honest, most people are. Like I struggle with that too. Like right now I'm at the end of a 6-month sobriety check in my life that I'm doing.
Good for you.
Thank you. But it's more so like you said. I got to a certain point in my life where I realized I was just out of control.
Totally.
And not in the sense of like I need to stop this forever. It's more like I need to figure out like I don't want to be out of control anymore.
Yeah.
You know, like,
you got to figure out that relationship to it, and our job allows us to do that.
Yeah,
you know,
we could do whatever we want.
Do whatever you want, and that's the part that like a lot of you know, people with normal jobs will do the air quotes there.
Yeah.
You got to wake up early, and you got to, you know, you're kind of in that hamster wheel of, you know, you have to do a certain thing at a certain time, and like for us, it's, you know, we wait all day for that hour and a half on stage.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then you're done.
And then what do you do?
And then what do you do? And then you're home from tour, and then what do you know?
And that's what I'm really getting to there, is like that balance between everything. Having a kid, as you know now too, like they start to grow up, and you don't want them to recognize that you're a sloppy mess at the end of the night, you know?
Totally.
So it's like, I've lived that part of my life. I'm not going to stop doing what I do, but all together. But I need to find a way to put it all together.
Totally.
Now,
you got to live in the solution, not the problem. You know what I mean?
That's a great way of putting it. I like that.
And if you can develop a healthy relationship with it, more power to you. You know? I don't think I can. You know, I never drank before I played ever. Like that's
smart.
That was for my whole entire career. But it was afterwards. The first thing I would do is run off stage and grab a beer, and then I'm fucking playing catch up. And then did it ever start to creep into the set where you'll be outside stage and have a beer during the set? I would bring one up, but I would spill it.
On purpose?
Not on purpose. Like, you know, one song in, the riser starts moving, and it's like,
gotcha.
And like, you know,
you're like, what the fuck's the point now?
Yeah, the stage hands are like, fuck, you know what I mean? But yeah, I'm one of those people that I tried to play high one time, and I was like, this is fucking great, I'm killing it, and everyone was like,
what are you
know,
doing?
I get the look,
Yeah.
you know the look when it's like,
you're like, oh, well,
yeah,
fuck.
Yeah, I guess I actually should not be doing that.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, so I'd be playing catch up to like, and then all of a sudden I'm the only one awake at 3 a.m. in the front lounge of the bus, you know, being like, where's everybody?
Yeah.
And I'm like doing a shot of whiskey.
Yeah, totally. Well, it's hard. I mean, even without the booze or without anything, like, I mean, just completely sober, it's hard to turn that off after you get off stage for a while. Yeah. Like, a lot of people are like, well, you know, you're done at like 11 o'clock. Why are you up till 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning? I'm like, like, that was my wake up.
Yeah, you're jacked up too.
Yeah, that was my morning.
You can't, people who don't play music or have never been on stage don't understand that, how much it feeds you in a crazy way. And like, you know, you're like we said before, you're waiting all day for that hour and a half on stage. Mm-hmm. And then once you get it, you're like, it's the craziest experience ever. And then you're supposed to go to bed right after that.
Yeah.
You know, it's your
hard
whole
to find
being
that.
is fed at that point.
Yeah,
And you're like,
well, that's another reason why I'm glad you're able to come here so early too. I appreciate being flexible in that time and getting right off the bus, because like that's tough. But back to the hallucinogens real quick. I was curious about that because through my journey with stuff and midlife crisis, all that, you know, being home for so long. There's more and more studies about like stuff like you said, mushrooms like psilocybin and stuff like that is actually being very beneficial for people. I mean, Aaron Rodgers famously talking about his time off and stuff, which I really commend. And he actually came out and said that as a professional athlete, because done correctly, like I started doing hallucinogens for recreation way too fucking young, let's be honest. But at a point when your mind is developed to a certain point, you're doing it for a real reason. You're not just eating an eighth of fucking mushrooms to get fucked up. Like you can microdose throughout. And there are ways to do it. I'm not advocating that I'm sorry, I don't want to put words in your mouth. I'm not advocating that people go out and just get fucked up on hallucinogens. But there's good things that we're finding about them, especially when you talk about psilocybin. Psilocybin is something that's grown here on the planet. DMT is something that's grown here on the fucking planet. You know, it's like, now that, of course, there's poisons that are grown here on the planet too that kill you. But it's within reason. You're kind of looking at it in a new way. There's there's states in this country that are starting to legalize psilocybin. So it's interesting that you guys went with. To me, it all brings it back to this LSD kind of thing. I know that's LS Dunes, and now that you point out the author thing, I'm glad you did, because I was like, now that makes a little bit more sense. But I was just curious about that because. You said you've done it before, you're sober now. When you hear all this stuff, because everyone fucking has a phone, hears about this shit. What are your thoughts on all that?
I mean, it's a journey, you know what I mean? Like, and especially when it comes to the LSD part of naming the band that, it's all about, you know, everything up until now, you know what I mean? It's part of the journey. And I think, like, when it comes to a psilocybin and all that stuff, like, when you do the research and you figure out how to do it and what works best for you, I mean, I think like you said, there's so many benefits to all of this stuff if you do it right. You know, it's when we were young and we did it wrong that is a problem.
When you do it to the point where you have a bad trip, you've overdone it. But that's the craziest thing, because with the new thing to me of microdosing, I was like, what the fuck is microdosing? You got to have a little pill or a little chocolate. And then my buddy's like, dude, you don't need to do that. You can buy the eighth and still just like have a little. And I'm like, wait, that's possible?
You don't have to finish the bag.
Like, I've been doing it wrong my whole life. You know, it's like that aha moment where you can just like, it's like, you just fucking have a stem or two, cap, and like see how it feels and go out. And it's like, it all comes back to balance and everything to me too, and then it's taken me this long to even look at what balance is. You know what I mean? And like now
takes some people way longer. So you're ahead of the game.
Hey, Tucker said I'm out of the game. Guys, I'm doing good.
But you know, when you see that bag and you're like, oh man, I gotta finish this so I don't do it tomorrow. You know what I mean?
That's the reasoning we have as musicians. I don't know if it's just musicians, but that's the reasoning right there.
It's pretty accurate.
I want to get back to your day off yesterday, though. Because Sedona is a place I'd never been to. I traveled through, as you said, several times. You know, it's on a route. I just was there 2 weeks ago for the very first time, and I spent 3 days there with my wife. I found it amazing, some of the stuff you just described with like that peacefulness and stuff. Like, man, like we did an ATV tour, did a hike and everything. Did you guys get to go to any of the energy vortexes that are out there?
We didn't, because we kind of, so we actually stayed in Flagstaff, and our tour manager Haley is from Arizona, and she was like, we got to do this today. So we ended up like getting into the hotel around 2, you know, like getting rooms or whatever. That's when we were able to check in, and we rented a Sprinter, and we left it around 3. So we kind of went late in the day, but these things were on, and I was getting recommendations from friends, like, you got to do these vortex things, you got to do this and that. And my whole goal was like, all right, I'm gonna go spend like $100 on rocks. You know what I mean? Like, I bought like crystals for my daughter, for my wife, and I was like, this is all I'm gonna get to, and I'm just gonna do that, and I'm gonna take mental pictures of the mountains and the sunset, and, you know, have a chill day off.
It's a great time of year too. For
Yeah.
that. Like, not like I'm a fucking expert, but this is what people would tell me when I show up there, because they just got rain a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
So it's not pure desert.
Green.
There's greenery everywhere. I was like, how is there green? They're like, oh, it fucking rained. I'm like, oh, no duh.
On the drive from fucking Flagstaff, I was like, whoa, you guys got fucking pine trees? I was like, I had no idea you had fucking pine trees.
I didn't know they existed in Arizona. And that's the craziest thing. We've been traveling in this country for 20 plus years and seen all the states. And there's still things that we're going like, oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's like
it makes me feel better you didn't know.
I just assumed everything was just burnt. You know what I mean? Like wow, this is green, and you know,
I thought I was showing up to Mars.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, man, what fucking Pluto? What the fuck? You know what I mean? That's crazy.
It's so cool. Like all the green. Like it's just. I don't know about you, but me and the wife decided after this trip that we're gonna try and make an annual trip out of that, and like that's something that. If you get back to it and have more time, I do recommend going to those energy vortexes.
I would love
I'm sure
to.
all your friends have told you to.
I would love to.
Dude, I'll tell you, I'll show you a quick story on that real quick. We went up to one of the energy vortexes, met this very nice gentleman. I had no idea what his name was. I was looking at the map, me and the wife, and we're like, all right, where's the hike go? You know, they have those all the trails, right? And it goes, and we were like, okay, it looks like it goes up here. And he's like, whoa, what are you looking for? It's a nice gentleman, older gentleman. And I was like, oh, we're looking for the blah, blah, blah energy vortex. I don't remember which one it was. There's several. And he's like, well, you know, you got to go this way. He starts explaining it. And then he pulls out this heart-shaped rock. You know, a couple of them. He had a couple of them. And I was like, oh, no, here comes the spiel.
Yeah.
And he hands us these rocks and says these, like a really nice seance or whatever about love and peace and stuff. And I was like, how much money are you going to ask me for?
Right.
He didn't ask for anything. Just went about his thing. And I was like, all right, rad. Fast forward about half an hour later, we're up at the energy vortex. Lo and behold, this guy comes up from behind us, goes to the very peak of the energy vortex, climbs up the top, sits down and like helps a couple other people up there, pulls out a fucking flute, I shit you not. And everyone goes dead silent and the dude starts playing like this old tribal style flute stuff. And it was like this very peaceful. It wasn't what I was expecting at all, obviously.
Can't make this shit up.
No. I was like, what the fuck is happening right now? And me and the wife just stood there in silence for a minute. She got a little teared up, honestly.
Oh, wow.
And we were like, because you're just out on the top of this canyon, you know, and this dude is playing like this.
Like a fucking shaman flautist.
That's exactly what it was. This guy who and I still have I held on to that fucking heart-shaped rock.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
I don't know if that guy owns a computer or has even seen or read a podcast or listened to a podcast, but if you are, thank you, buddy.
Yeah, you made a difference here. That's crazy.
It was
because
so wild.
You're right. Like when somebody whips out the rock, you know, you're like, all right, so
isn't that sad,
if I don't buy this, I'm gonna get bad energy. You know what I mean? But if he's just giving it out, like out of the goodness of his heart, and he's gonna go stand on top of a peak and play the flute, and make your wife cry, that's kind of amazing.
It's that's just a beautiful human being, right? Like, and it's sad that was my first thought. I felt guilty immediately after that. You know, I was like, but like, it's sad that's. But I think that's most people's reaction, 100%, probably.
100%. Because when you said that, I was like, oh no, here it goes.
Yeah.
How much do you have to spend on that rock?
Exactly. But it was nothing. Like at that point, I almost wanted to give him something.
Totally.
I was like, what can I give you back? Like clearly, monetarily, you don't care. What can I give this guy back? You know? Like this is. It was a really beautiful place, and that just kind of summed up the entire trip for us. That's why I bring it up. Is like that Sedona thing. I couldn't imagine how that would be. Wish you had more time, to be honest.
Totally.
That's like, that recharge in the middle of a tour would be so fucking sick.
It was so cool, man, just walking around and you know, there's a lot of tourists there, but everybody's kind of going through the same thing because you're like literally looking at like the planet. You know what I mean? You're just like, these mountains came out of nowhere. They're insanely beautiful. You know, there's so many deadly things out in that, you know, land. So I'm glad to be here where I can see it from afar. And, you know, you're watching helicopters go by because people are going on tours, but it's still peaceful. It's still like, you don't feel like you're in Times Square.
Oh, no.
You know what I mean?
So you guys were you buying the crystals and rocks? Were you like in that downtown strip right there? That's the canyons, right? Mm-hmm. So in that canyon right down there, there's a hotel. That's where we were staying. And then, so the restaurants that are on either side there, which restaurant did you go to?
So we went to, there's this pizza place that's right outside of the downtown called, I forget what it's called, but it's a chain, but they have like a whole plant-based vegan menu. So
okay.
We had to, when you're rolling large like that, you got to accommodate the entire.
They had both.
They had both.
Okay, cool, yeah.
So
are you vegan and gluten-free and all that fun stuff?
I've been vegetarian for 32 years.
Oh, wow.
But I eat primarily vegan.
Okay.
But ever since I was younger, I always wanted to be able to not be the annoying person in the room. Not that vegans are annoying, I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying for me personally, being like, ooh, I can't eat that. Can you create something else for me?
Right.
That's not my vibe, you know what I mean?
I gotcha.
So it's like, if I have to eat cheese, I will, you know what I mean? If I have to.
Yeah, but you're going to try as much
as possible.
Right. And I think I just figured out why he's 43 and looks younger than me. I am not. I am not a vegetarian. I did do pescatarian for like a year. I was okay with that. I'm not even okay with it. I was seeing the benefits and I wanted to do that. Like, man, it's just, once you get in that, it's another one of those things. Once you get in the habit, it's hard to break it.
It really is. And I think that people should eat how they feel best. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't look down on people that.
Everyone's different too.
Yeah.
Their insides are different.
Yeah.
Man.
I mean, I've been vegetarian at least for so long that I remember eating foods that literally taste like cardboard boxes. You know what I mean? Like being on tour and eating like hot dog buns with mustard in it.
Tough.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
But, that's just, I just feel like that's how I'm supposed to eat, That's just how I feel best. Mm-hmm. And I got this fucking weird textural thing, like chewing on meat for me when I was a kid was...
That's good. I wish I had that aversion.
Yeah, I couldn't.
In hindsight, I know a lot of people with that aversion. I'm just like, man, I wish I had that aversion.
Yeah, and I didn't know that was the aversion.
Yeah.
I was just like, when my mom would make like filet mignon, she would have to cut it in like perfect squares for me.
And it wasn't just being an OCD drummer?
No, it wasn't. You would think. And I would douse it in A1 steak sauce. So literally all I was eating was like a meat cube with A1 steak sauce.
Hey, I make steak for the family. My son loves it. It's like his favorite thing. I'm like, uh-oh. But it's his favorite food. He won't eat pizza, but he loves steak. But my wife will make it, and I'll make it the way me and my son like it. And then my wife's like, she'll go throw it in the microwave and cook it a little longer.
It's like being a chef and adding, the patrons adding salt. To the food.
You're like, why did I bother?
Yeah.
Well, man, I'm going to let you get back to your day. I know you got a show tonight. I just want to thank you so much for being here. There's so much more we could have got into. I expect we will very soon.
Absolutely.
We got each other's numbers now, so we'll be doing a phone call. Hopefully we can get that scheduled when we release this episode. For everyone at home, make sure you guys are also... Instead of just being right here on YouTube, go follow us on the podcast platforms. That's where I'll be making a phone call back to Tucker. There's a lot of other stuff that we have there, so it's audio only. Make sure you go fucking follow the podcast. That's all I'm saying. But I appreciate you guys being here today, too. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you for having me, dude.
Yeah, man.
For sure.
And that's it for today. Until next time. Cheers.